Hey everybody, Frugal Brando here. If you always shop with a consumer mindset and run out to buy the newest iPhone when it comes out, or in this case, since we're talking about consoles, say you bought the new Xbox or PlayStation 5, if you could get your hands on it at MSRP price that is, or even in the computer gaming world, you tried to buy a new graphics card, but you're always just keep buying and not doing anything else, I absolutely hope you can get something from this video as I show you how I got Sony to completely cover the cost of my PS5 and the accessories. Let me know in the comments what your favorite game console is, and yes, if you game on a PC, you're absolutely allowed to comment down there. I'm a hybrid, so I play both on consoles and PC, but enough of that, let's get into the video. Back in 2019, I had some extra money lying around and I wanted to invest this in a new stock. Now, when I'm looking for a brand new company, I don't go right into the numbers. I take a step back and say, what's a company that I know of that I might be spending money at in the future? Or what's a company I know that a lot of my friends will be spending at, or that's just getting so much repeat business? I like to look at companies more from a social perspective and just a high-level mindset before getting into all the math. That doesn't mean I'm going to buy a company with a horrible balance sheet, no growth, poor fundamentals, anything like that, but I think it's an easier way to understand and find companies that you might want to invest in before you start deep diving into PE, market cap, price to sales ratio, and all the other numbers that go when actually valuing a stock. One of the questions that I asked was, what's a company that's going to release something new in the next several years, whether it's a product or a service, that a lot of people are going to want to buy, and 3 stocks came to mind. First up on the list was Apple. Now, I already had a very strong position in Apple in my Roth IRA, so actually buying shares of Apple in my regular brokerage account, that was kind of out because I didn't want to be too concentrated in Apple. Second up on the list was going to be Tesla. Now, I would have absolutely made more money if I actually put it in Tesla instead, but back in 2019, I wanted a stock that didn't fluctuate in price every week because Tesla was very volatile and still is very, very volatile stock. But as you could probably guess, the third stock was going to be Sony. So now that I had an idea about investing in Sony, I just wanted to use my general knowledge and think about it before looking into the fundamentals further. So just going off my knowledge, I knew that Sony was crushing it in consumer electronics with their TVs and their cameras, and I knew that I, if you couldn't tell as a PlayStation fanboy, was going to want to buy a PS5 since I basically have every single past PlayStation console hooked up and I still use all of them. But there was one last thing at this point in general, just thinking about Sony, that sealed the deal for me, and that is Spider-Man. Sony owns the rights to Spider-Man every time he is on film, and we have seen plenty of Spider-Man movies in the past 20 years. That's also a part of the contract that a new Spider-Man movie has to be out every X number of years, but don't have to get into that. Basically, I knew that a new Spider-Man movie was going to continue to come out, and with the success of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, along with Tom Holland playing Spider-Man in the MCU, I had a feeling that more progression with Spider-Man was going to continue, and that was going to drive in more revenue for Sony. In July of 2019, I bought 20 shares of Sony, which back then was trading under ticker SNE, and this was also back when Fidelity and a bunch of other brokerages were charging a $4.95 fee for every trade, regardless of if it was 1 share or 1,000 shares. My cost basis was just under $55 a share, and I have received a few dividends through 2019 and 2020. Sony is now trading under ticker symbol SONY, which is way easier to remember since it's the company name, but I am up 100% on my initial investment, and that is an absolute win in my book. If I was to sell at this price, since it'd be a long-term hold, since I held it for more than 1 year, I would pay 15% on the gain in taxes, which would be approximately $169, and I'd have about $962 in profit, which is good from this trade. This gain was definitely enough to cover the cost of a PlayStation 5 at MSRP, and even if I had to buy it from a scalper, but I was absolutely lucky enough to get one just by spending so much freaking time on every retailer's website, and I ended up getting it lucky enough at Target. I truly didn't care where I was able to get a PlayStation 5 from, But there is one really cool thing about getting it at Target. Even though tax for me was $28.50, which is the sales tax, I got $25 off from the card. So that was another nice little cash savings there. So if we were to take the total gain that I made on the shares from my initial investment, now if we subtract capital gains and then let's subtract off these expenses of the PlayStation 5, an extra controller, and the charging dock, which is really cool, I would still be left with a profit around $350, which is a nice gain after all of those expenses if I was to sell these shares. Since I personally believe that Sony will continue to crush earnings, which they actually just did several weeks ago, and because they're still trading at such a low PE ratio, I have absolutely no intention of selling any of my Sony shares. Now, if the market does have a correction or a crash, for whatever reason, I'll probably buy more shares. It might actually be kind of interesting to see if I could get Sony to pay for a PlayStation 6 for me whenever that comes out. Or maybe I'll upgrade my TV and swap out this LG for a nice 8K Sony or something, since they say this can do 8K. That might be an interesting one. Now, as always, none of this is investment advice. Always perform your own due diligence whenever you make any type of investment decision. And as always, please don't forget to hit the like button to help me out with this video. This might be a great thing to share with some of your friends or family who might just continue to buy things and they only buy stuff and they don't invest in anything. Well, investing's good and it can do things like this. I literally got a PS5 from it. So if you made it this far, please be sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any future videos. Next week's video will have much more of an insight into some of my long-term investing strategies. So until the next video, please be smart with your money.